Hey guys, my name's Ben Renna. I'm a DJ and music producer from Perth, Western Australia. I've been DJing for about the last 10 years and I've been producing for the last 5. So Hearts on Fire happened at the beginning of 2020 when the world had just discovered COVID. Lots of cities, lots of areas were locked down, people couldn't leave their houses. So a lot of music was being made, a lot of amazing music was being made, and I had a couple of originals that didn't have vocals on, and I linked with a friend of mine that lived here, and he linked me with someone who lived in London called Lewis Thompson. And Lewis has worked with the likes of David Guetta, Gorgon City, Joel Corry, and many more. And Lewis sent me over some top lines which he'd written and recorded previously in a studio in London. And we sort of went back and forth and ended up collaborating on Hearts on Fire. This is the track that really resonated with me and the top line that really sort of touched me. We ended up working back and forth for a few months, getting the right tweaks, recording the vocals, making sure everything was sounding good, which was very difficult in a pandemic. Different cities, everything like this. So it was actually great to be working with someone of Lewis's caliber and standard, and actually pretty rare to have not met him and to be working internationally with an artist of his level. So lyrically, Hearts on Fire to me means two people that meet that don't expect to meet, and it's this coming together, this spark, this initial attraction of two people that sort of have been going about their life and focusing on themselves, and they just sort of fall for each other, and that's what this record is. It's really just like big explosion of just passion and that initial spark and attraction that happens when you meet someone that you don't expect to meet. So usually I like to start by writing chord progressions, like lead melodies, lots of MIDI stuff. So I like to work with writing chords and breakdowns, and then usually something else forms around that. So I can usually get my drums, favourite samples that I can work around. So usually my drum fills and all the cool ear candy stuff. But yeah, usually love to write some lead chords that will give me inspiration for like the main hook of the track. This sort of leads into everything else, so you can write breakdown chords around that, or other cool melodies like arps and other synths that can work in with the track, or like a nice high string or something along those lines. But generally, if you can already get like a vocal or something that's like a reference, you can usually write around a melody or a sort of lead element around that, and that's usually what sparks my inspiration for writing. So I'd like to think my sound is very similar to artists like MK, Joel Corry, Don Bresky, and these artists are really heavily piano driven in a lot of their records, so that's sort of what I get inspiration from. Lots of cool chops, lots of cool vocal chops, lots of cool lead pianos and big chords and big bass. A lot of these artists are really big with their heavy drum fills and awesome tension and builds in their tracks, and that's what sort of inspired me to sort of chop up the vocal on the drop of Hearts on Fire, and to sort of get these big lead chords on the track. So yeah, artists like Sigala and Joel Corry and MK and Don Bresky and Jonas Blue and Paul Woolford, and these really heavily melody driven artists are what I draw inspiration from. So being my debut record, I sent it out to just a handful of my favourite labels, Central being one of them, and they loved it, and they've always been like a soft spot in my heart for labels that I've worked with, and especially Australian labels. Central's sort of been like the longest running independent dance music label here in Australia, and really one of the go-tos for the forefront of Australian dance music, which has been great to see, and some of my favourite records have been released through this label, so I'm actually stoked to be releasing it with them. I didn't expect to write Hearts on Fire from the get-go. I just found some chords that I liked, and the vocal fitted so nicely with this melody that it just was a match made in heaven, really, for this first track. And it was so great to be working with Lewis, because the producer of his caliber is just really unheard of. He's worked with so many great artists, and really just an honour to be working with him on this track.